Hey guys, welcome to Built in America. I'm your host, Jeff Friedland. This show, as you already know, is about men and women who actually build businesses in America today. These people aren't chasing profits, but trying to do it with conviction, integrity, and responsibility. Each episode, I sit down with founders, operators, leaders who believe business is way more than transactions. It's about influence, it's about stewardship, and it's one of the most powerful ways values show up in real life. We're here to talk about the marketplace, what's changing, what's working, what it really takes to serve our customers who care about what they buy and who they buy it from. These are honest conversations with people who are doing the work, people who are learning in real time how to build, lead, and grow in a very complicated world. And I'm super excited to have John Reese today with us. He's the CEO and founder of Quanta. His work sits right at the intersection of building a business and staying grounded in his values. Dr. Reese, thanks so much for being here today. Can you tell me a little bit about Quanta?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jeff. Quanta Enterprise Comms is the first fully integrated communication platform that uses quantum resistant encryption for all forms of your communication. And it's designed to with privacy in mind, and so that people can be sure that their communications are secure.
Awesome. That is a great succinct introduction of the business. All right, let's jump right into our questions now, John. My favorite part here. Question one, how does your business help people live out their values when they spend their money?
Well, Quanta Enterprise Comms is built around the freedoms that we enjoy as Americans, specifically the right to free speech and the right to privacy. And we built our entire platform around that those two values so that people could communicate with their businesses, their families, their churches, whoever it will be, in a secure and safe environment, knowing that not only is no one listening into them, but also nobody can interfere with those communications so that people can be secure. And again, our tagline is when you want to communicate and be sure, when you want to be sure about your communications, use Quanta and be sure.
Excellent. Love it. Love the tagline. All right. Question two, what does building and growing your business in America mean to you personally?
So, building and hosting our product in America is really very, very important to us. You know, we realized a long time ago, but it became very, very prominent during COVID that as Americans, we had pretty much given up control over some of the most basic and critical functions in our lives. You know, not the least of which are medications. And we found out that a lot of our medications were being built in places like China, where at worst, they could put sawdust instead of an active ingredient in an over the counter medication, or they could leave out the active ingredient in a medication such as a heart medication or add fentanyl to something without our knowledge. And we had absolutely no control over that because of the policies were in place heretofore. So we decided that it was critical that when we created a secure communication platform, especially after the deplatforming of Parler back in 2020, which I might go into later, it was critical that we had total control over our platform from top to bottom, bottom to top, and all the way in between, where we're built by Americans for Americans, hosted and platformed in America.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Question three, how have you seen your customers change in the last few years or even the last few months, especially those that are conservative and faith-minded customers?
Well, what I'm seeing is that, we as Americans were largely asleep, and some still are, especially the younger people who are pretty much numbed or lulled into a sense of security by all the social media and platforms, even like the one we're on right now, into thinking that, I mean, you'd be amazed at what kids post. I'm sure you wouldn't, but, they don't realize that the internet is forever. And once it's out there and very difficult to retract. So as more and more news of tracking and surveillance and hacking and all those sort of things are coming into the news, people are waking up and they're realizing that they cannot trust the security of their privacy and the security of their communications to Big Brother or Big Tech. Foreign governments are listening in on us. You may remember that there's a thing called Salt Typhoon, where the Chinese hacked into every major cell phone carrier. You also have heard probably of Arctic frost, where the Congress actually asked to spy on conservative congressional members and Senate members and even conservative organizations. So your privacy is totally at risk. And so people are finally realizing that they have to be aware. And some of the larger platforms have no bones about it that they're going to take your data. They're going to sell your data. They're going to share your data, and sometimes they're going to steal your data. There's one of the major video conferencing platform right now has in it terms of service that they can take not only the content and the context of your messaging, but also they can take your video, your facial geometry, and your voice prints. Now, with AI, that information right there can be used to do all kinds of bad things. And so our platform, Quanta Enterprise Comms, protects against that because we're completely independent of big tech. Our privacy terms say that we're not going to store, share, sell, or monetize your data in any way. And furthermore, everything we do on our communication platform is end-to-end encrypted with quantum-resistant encryption, and we're the only ones in the industry that have that. So we're seeing Americans wake up, and the more they know that is out there, the more interested they are in what we have to offer. Because again, as security increases, convenience decreases, and sometimes it's not comfortable to have to get up out of bed when you forgot to lock your door, but it's important to do that, especially if you don't live in a safe neighborhood.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I tell my kids all the time that what they put on the internet is forever. So that's something we got to continue to talk about. All right. Question 4. What values guide the way you lead your team and serve your customers?
Well, as Christians and conservatives, we live that walk.
Mm-hmm.
We want to provide a good product for good people at the very best possible price. Price is fair, and again, we only allow people that share our values to participate in the development of our platform, in the management of our platform, or even to invest in our platform. So we've set ourselves apart as being a leader in the industry by being the only ones that have quantum resistant encryption, which again is future proofing yourselves against the threats of quantum computing, which even Google, I think this week, pushed that timeline down from somewhere in the distant future to now as early as 2029. So quantum computing is coming, and quantum computing is real, and you have to protect yourself. So again, as a Christian in the Bible in Proverbs, it says, "A wise man sees danger and hides himself." And God also has in Daniel, I believe, it says that God has given His servants the keys to unlock the dreams of the king. And so we see these dangers, and so that's what we're hoping to prevent by helping people understand that there is an alternative, and you don't have to depend on the bad guys or the people that necessarily don't share our values. They might not be bad; they just don't share our values and don't have the same ethics we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Question 5, my favorite question. What's one piece of advice you give to other business owners trying to reach values driven Americans?
So I've always been an out of the box thinker and an upstream swimmer and a
Yep.
problem solver. I mean, I'll be driving down the road and my wife goes crazy. I said, "Why'd they put that telephone pole there?" Or why aren't they doing this? Whatever the case may be. So my motto, or one of my mottos, is just because it's never been done doesn't make it wrong, and just because it's always been done doesn't make it right. And another motto is observe the masses and do the opposite. So God gives me lots of opportunities, and He gives me lots of ideas because I never tell Him no, or I rarely tell Him no. And I truly believe that with God, nothing is impossible. So if you answer the call of God and you do what God tells you to do, and you have faith, and remember, faith is the evidence of things hoped for, the substance of things not seen. And what that means is that God tells you He's not going to give you every single step along the pathway because you might try to second guess Him. Just trust God for the next step. And then uh, understand that in order to change things, you're going to have to do things different. Jesus came to this world to be a disruptor. He didn't allow the status quo to hang around. And so if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got. But God said, "Don't be weary in well doing, but in due season, you'll reap a harvest if you faint not." So be persistent and be proactive and get the job done. One final thing is,
Yep.
if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space.
That's great. That's great. Well, John, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for answering the questions. Thanks for the work that you're doing. We really do appreciate it very much.
All right. I appreciate you having me. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yep. Guys, that's a wrap on our episode today of Built in America. I hope the conversation we just had was encouraging to you and reminding you that building a business in this country is way more than profits. It's about values, it's about people, and just really it's about long-term impact. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe to our weekly Liberty Spenders podcast, where we go deeper into how Americans are choosing to live out their values with, where, and how they spend their money. You can find that right here on YouTube. If you're a business owner or a leader or a brand that wants to better understand how to serve value-driven Americans, check out our website, libertyspenders.com. You can book a meeting with me or anybody on the team. We'd love to talk with you. Finally, if you or maybe you know someone who would be a good guest here on Built in America podcast, head over to builtinamericapodcast.com. You can learn more and apply. But thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for supporting American-built businesses, and we'll see you next time on Built in America.